just did EF Ultimate Break's Voyage to Vietnam last month. This was my 8th trip with EF Ultimate Break already. It was also by far my favorite. I thought it was perfect. However, there's a ton I feel like that you need to know before this trip, and there's also not really that much content out there about it, so here we are. I did already post my vlog from this trip if you want to watch that too, but I feel like that's going to be more of like your visual guide, whereas this video I just want to talk about all the things I think you should know, packing, what to expect. Got a bunch of notes here that I took for you guys, a whole lot of thoughts that I need to put together. Before we get started though, I am an EF Ultimate Break ambassador. Always want to put that out there. 2 reasons. Number 1, I do want to specify that I am not sponsored by them. They don't tell me what to say, so I'm allowed to be completely honest with you. Don't worry about that. I'm not getting paid. I do, however, have a code for you to get $100 off your first trip. Really more of a link, but basically I'll put my link down below and that link will automatically get you that $100 off. Does not have to be the Voyage to Vietnam trip. It can be any EF Ultimate Break trip. Hopefully if you're here, you already know what EF Ultimate Break is, but if not, I'll link my TikTok down below because I have some more videos over there kind of explaining. But yeah, let's get into it. The first stop on this tour is Hanoi. I actually came in a day early. You're allowed to do this on any of the EF trips, and I recommend this so much, especially for these Asia trips, just because that'll give you an extra day to like acclimate to the time zone and everything before you have to go be social with the group. For Vietnam specifically, I recommend this if you're like me and wanted to take advantage of all the like beauty treatments there. Vietnam is a very affordable country for Americans traveling because of the conversion rate and everything. So if you come in a day early like I did, then you have plenty of time to get your nails done, your hair done, whatever you want. My first stop was to get my nails done. It cost me $28 for this beautiful, intricate design that they did by hand. I actually had so much trouble getting them back off once I got home. They lasted for like basically a whole month. I will say there was a salon I had tried to go to because I saw it on TikTok. Everybody says it's like the best one. I couldn't find any info on how to make a reservation with them, but apparently you were supposed to make a reservation. You're just supposed to know that you would like message them on Instagram. Again, I didn't know that. If I would have just messaged them on Instagram, I could have gotten into that place. Not mad about it at all because there's so many nail salons, like you're not gonna be in a shortage of them. I just walked into this one that I found off the street. It was great. But if you do have a specific one that you want to go to, just look up the name on Instagram, send them a message. They'll probably get back to you in like 5 minutes literally and get you an appointment. Other thing I did that first day was I got a lash lift, which is where they like perm your eyelashes. I get those done at home all the time too, and it was around $20 in Vietnam, I think, whereas at home I pay like $100. I will say if you're interested in this, they didn't give me any like aftercare tutorial, which is fine because I knew what I was doing because I do that at home. But you should know that you're not supposed to like work out really afterwards because it's like a perm for your hair. Like you don't want it to get wet. So if you shower, try not to shower where it's too hot, so like the steam would affect it. Mostly just like don't wash your face, don't get the shower water on your face. Again, just things to know. The Vietnamese people as a whole, you will find, are just so beyond sweet and accommodating and love tourists for the most part. The way our tour director explained it to us is just basically like tourism is still a pretty new concept in Vietnam. Like it's not like other places where tourists have kind of taken over and tourists are being annoying. Vietnam, they're just like so happy to see all these tourists. So they will just really go out of their way for you so much. And I found that to be so true right off the bat because you walk into any of these like salons, stores, wherever, and even if they don't speak English, they're the ones that like already have Google Translate up on their phone, like trying to understand you. Not that I'm saying they should, like you're the one in their home, but it's just, it's cute and it's sweet that they do that. Like I went to this restaurant for lunch and I realized, okay, side note, almost everywhere in Vietnam is cash only. Make sure that you have plenty of cash. I wouldn't worry about getting it out in advance. I have never done that for a country I've gone to. I always just use ATMs, but yeah, especially in Hanoi, very much rely on cash. Anyway, so I stop into this restaurant while I'm waiting to get my nails done because I had like walked into a place, made an appointment for like an hour later. In the restaurant, I asked them if they took credit card. Of course, they said no, like most places. But the lady like walks out of the restaurant with me and like showed me exactly where to go for the ATM. I come back in after I got my cash and everything. I ordered. I asked her if they had Wi-Fi, and instead of just like telling me the password, she just like took my phone and typed in the password for me. I noticed a few places did that. Again, kind of cute. The other thing I did on my first day by myself in Hanoi itinerary that morning before I even went to the salons or anything was I went to The Note Coffee, if you've heard of that. It's really big on Instagram. Something I love about Vietnam is you can find amazing iced coffee everywhere, because I'm a coffee snob. I only drink iced coffee. There's the Vietnamese iced coffee, of course, which I had heard of, but they also have the egg coffee, which is really big in Hanoi. When you get down to Hoi An, it's more about the coconut coffee, and then they also have the salted cream coffee. Usually I'm used to, when I go on vacation, it's hard for me to find iced coffee in places like Europe, so this was a nice little surprise that it's everywhere. What I did notice right away when I walked into this coffee shop was the fact that Vietnam does not have AC in very many places. Vietnam is also very, very warm for most of the year. I visited in April, so not necessarily like their peak time for the heat, but it was still like in the 90s normally while we were there, at least high 80s. And yeah, most of the places that you go will not have AC. This coffee shop did not have AC. Most of the coffee places don't have AC. A lot of the restaurants don't have AC, but your hotels and like the higher end restaurants and spas, stuff like that, normally will. So make sure you pack appropriately. Something else that does help though is the fact that Vietnam is not a very conservative country, I would say, as far as like what you wear. You don't have to worry about like covering your shoulders or anything like that. People are walking around in their tiny little string crop tops and stuff. TMI, but I wish I would have packed more tops that you can go without wearing a bra with. I'm very blessed in the fact that I usually can get away with that. You will be sweating so much. Like, this heat here is so next level that you're not really gonna want to re-wear your bras. So yeah, if you can find clothes where you can get away with not wearing one, that will be helpful for you, in my opinion. Bring more outfits than you think you'll need, because you're not gonna really want to be re-wearing your clothes in general with, again, how much you're sweating in this heat with no AC. Later that day, after my nail appointment, after my lash lift, I went into this other salon because I wanted to get a blowout for my hair, or like a head massage kind of thing, and I found this place that just said like hair wash. So I asked them if they do the hair styling too, and we had to kind of go back and forth like on Google Translate like you do, but finally they're like, yeah, we do, and I'm like, okay, cool. Come to find out, they don't typically do hair styling there, but one of the owners, workers, whoever, literally like either went home or went to the store, I don't know where she went, acquired a curling iron and came back just so they could curl my hair. I didn't realize that's what was going on until afterwards. I felt so bad, but again, like, they will just go so out of their way for you. And so they're doing my hair and everything. I have these ladies, like, it felt like they were fangirling over me. They're like taking videos, like, I'm pretty sure I was on their TikTok. Remember how I said pretty much everywhere around here is cash only, and so I kept having to get cash out throughout the day. The conversion rate was kind of messing with me, which is totally my fault. By the end of this appointment, I realized they didn't take credit card and I was a little bit short on cash, and I'm like, oh no. But I was like, it's fine, like, I'll give them my ID or my phone or something and just like as collateral, and I'll go to the ATM and then come back. Instead of having to do that, the worker lady like holds my hand and comes with me to the ATM. And me telling you that, you probably think like, oh yeah, she didn't trust you, but like, it didn't feel like a I don't trust you kind of way. It felt like, oh yeah, like my new friend, let me show you around. And so she takes me to the ATM. First one that she took me to was broken, and I'm like, oh my god, like I felt so bad. She's like, oh, no problem, just come with me on my motorbike. She's like telling me this on Google Translate, which freaked me out because I don't mess around with motorcycles, but I got on this stranger's motorbike with her. She took me to another ATM that was luckily working. I tipped her like double the price of what it was supposed to be just because I felt so bad for how much they've gone out of their way for me already, which I believe ended up being $38 that I paid them. So I think the total was supposed to be only like $20 for them to wash my hair, which was a whole like not just a hair wash but like head massage basically. Them styling my hair, blow drying my hair, and I'd also gotten a foot massage while I was there. $38. And then at the end of all this, instead of just like dropping me off back at the salon, she asked me where my hotel was, and she dropped me all the way off at my hotel so I wouldn't have to walk. But again, just really want to emphasize like how sweet these people are in general. Like, you will feel so welcome there. The hotel in Hanoi was awesome. I stayed at the same hotel when I went a day early as the one that we were in with the group. They were very accommodating and let me just keep the same room, which was nice instead of having to unpack and all that. It's in a great location where you can walk to everything. That next day after I got there, when the whole rest of the group had arrived, we started off by going on a walking tour around Hanoi. We had the most amazing tour guide on this trip. His name is D. Hopefully you'll get him too, although I'm sure all of the tour directors are amazing. But yeah, we kind of walked around. We got some more really great coffee. This is where we tried the egg coffee. I assumed I wasn't gonna like it because I don't know why. I thought I had heard that it actually tastes like egg. It doesn't. It, in my opinion, tastes like pastel de nata from Portugal, if you've had that, but it's just like a creamy taste. Again, iced like I like, or you can get it hot if you don't want it iced. We went and had the best pho of my entire life, and then we went to the Women's Museum. TBH, I'm not sure why this was included. Like, I love women, I'm a feminist, but it just didn't seem very relevant. It was fine, not mad, and it wasn't a whole long time that we were there, but just interesting. After that though was our free time, so a bunch of us went over to the famous train street. You have to look up what time the train is actually coming by. I'm sure you can just Google it. One of the girls from our trip had already found it out, so we just kind of followed along with her. The rest of the group did have it built in to like go as a group later. Didn't have to, but this was like before the welcome dinner. But like I said, a bunch of us just went on our own time. We did have to check out of the hotels this morning, but EF did arrange for us to get day rooms there, which was kind of nice. So they got us like 4 to share just so we could shower and everything, because again, it's so hot outside. Our next stop this night was we were spending the night on the overnight train to go to Sapa. Make sure you pack like some sort of smaller duffel bag with you, just because when you're going to the train, they don't let you bring your whole roller bag because it would take up too much space. You'll leave that locked up on the bus and bring your smaller bag with your essentials for the night. Same thing when you go on Ha Long Bay a little bit later. You won't be able to bring your whole suitcase. You'll need your smaller bag. This train, we were all kind of expecting to just be like roughing it on the train. Like, we're like, oh, this is gonna be uncomfortable, but gonna be part of the experience, you know? Like, I like being uncomfortable when I travel sometimes. Honestly though, the train wasn't bad. It's a shared bathroom, but it was clean. There's no showers on board, but I don't think I'd want to shower on board anyway. We had already showered at the day room in our hotel in Hanoi. Even if you did a single room, you will have to have a roommate this night. I guess normally on the train you have 4 people per room, but with EF they upgrade you a little bit, so it's only 2 people per room. They're very skinny little narrow beds, but they were comfortable. I slept well, even though it's kind of loud on the train. There were outlets in the room. They gave us water and snacks for free. I don't know if this was just a miscommunication, but we were definitely told that we were going to be getting like a wake-up call about an hour before we arrived. We did not. Me and my roommate woke up like as the train is pulling up, and we're like, oh shit, trying to get all of our stuff together. Didn't even have time to brush our teeth or anything. I just had to like pop my contacts in so I could see what I was doing, and we like scrambled outside half awake. So maybe set an alarm. Don't be like us and just rely on the wake-up call that you may or may not get. But from there, we loaded back up onto our same bus. It was like our bus driver from Hanoi kind of like traveled alongside the train and met up with us in the town where the train station was. And then from there, the bus driver drove us up into Sapa, which was about another hour. Sapa is absolutely gorgeous. This is like the mountain town, the hiking, the green rolling hills. It looks like Peru. Honestly, this is what influenced me on going to Vietnam in the first place. When I saw the pictures, I was like, I need to go experience that. The hotel here was stunning. We arrived and they had breakfast ready for us and everything. It's like this huge buffet. You always get breakfast included on EF trips, by the way. And then we had like maybe 2 hours or so of just free time in the hotel to like change clothes, get ready if you wanted to, and then we had to meet up for our hike. Here's the tea with the hike. The hike became such a big joke throughout this trip. Our tour director said, easy, easy, everyone can do. I am a hiker. I love hiking. I was so excited. We get out there and it's like a downhill hike, so you can see the view from the very beginning. You're going straight downhill. It's paved though, so it wasn't too challenging. I thought we were just like going down to the bottom and then turning around and coming back up. Well, we're hiking all the way down and it's like, I was gonna say a loop, but it's not even really a loop. It was just like a point to point thing, and then the bus was picking us up on the other side. So that's the good news, is you don't have to go back up that steep part. The issue was we were hiking to lunch. Since our tour director had told us how easy this hike was and said, oh, just bring the small water bottle from your hotel, none of us were prepared for the fact that we actually hiked more like 5 miles, I think it was. Nobody's exactly sure because our watches weren't like accurate. It kept saying 30 more minutes, at least like 4 or 5 times. It just kept going and going. going. And again, it's not like a very technical hike, but it is so freaking hot and you need a lot of water. I went through so much sunscreen. Luckily I didn't get burnt, but it's very exposed. There was like no shade out there. And it was a very beautiful hike, but I felt like the view was just as beautiful at the beginning as all the stuff we went through. So I kind of wish it was just like an out and back, like, okay, go down to the bottom, go back up. Because then when we finally do get to this lunch spot, it's like a local home that put it on, and nothing against these people, but the food was not that great, especially for how long we had been trekking to get there. No AC, we're eating outside, but then the bus picked us up and we went back to the hotel. Free time for the rest of the day. I don't think anybody was feeling too ambitious at that point. There are like these photo spots around Sapa where you can go and you pay like $6, I think it was, to enter this one. And you get free reign over all the photo spots, but your ticket does also include a coffee. So got another good little iced coffee. Went over to the photo spot. You have to wait quite a while in line, but this was like a 5-minute walk from the hotel, so really convenient. The pictures did turn out super cute, so highly recommend that you go too. The hotel here did have a spa on site, so me and my roommate both got massages separately. It's kind of funny though, I went to pay for mine and it was again like 20 something dollars, I think, so I'm thrilled. Apparently I paid for mine and my roommate's together and I didn't even realize. That's just how affordable it was. That night, got to bed early. Again, everybody was just so worn out from that hike. Next day, our meetup time wasn't until, I believe, 9 a.m. I had a coffee shop I really wanted to go to because I saw it on TikTok. I technically could have walked there because it was like a 30-minute walk, but I splurged and got a Grab, which is like the Asian version of Uber. It was 80 cents for my Grab to get to this coffee shop. This was maybe my favorite thing I did the whole trip. It was just a little peaceful solo morning. The most beautiful view. There's this train that goes by. The coffee was amazing too. I wasn't expecting to actually get to see the train. I thought it was just going to be one of those like Instagram versus reality things. The train actually passed by like 3 or 4 times while I was there, so I would say you have a pretty high chance of seeing it too, and I just can't recommend that enough. It was called La Do Homestay. Took my Grab back to the hotel, and then we were meeting up to go to Cat Village today, which is also in Sapa. This was the only time on the trip where I felt like it was a touristy feeling. It wasn't bad, it wasn't like too cheesy or anything, but you like walk down into this village and there's little souvenir shops and stuff. I guess the reason why it felt kind of more like manufactured to me is because we found out that the waterfalls were fake, which was kind of like odd to me. But they are pretty. I specifically loved how there's hydrangeas everywhere because I'm a big hydrangea girl. I live in New England. Favorite part of Cat Village is there's this big slide that you can do. You're like on a rafts looking thing that you go down it on. I had seen this on TikTok before too. I think it was a different location, but somebody was talking about how dangerous it was and I was like, oh, I probably won't do that. And I did anyway. I actually recommend it because it was really fun. After that, we were heading back to Hanoi just to spend the night as kind of like a halfway point before we were going to Ha Long Bay the next day. To get back to Hanoi, we just took the bus instead of the overnight train. This was a long day on the bus because it's like a 6-hour or so bus ride, and we did make a few stops to like go to the bathroom, get snacks and stuff. Our first stop though was a lunch place, and they had us like send in our order in advance so that it'd be ready for us. I don't know if this was just a one-time thing, but this restaurant was still not ready for us, and we waited so long for our food. The food again was not very good, so that was disappointing because I think we all would have rather just like got pizza to go or something, just like ate on the bus, but it is what it is. Wasn't a big deal. We get back to Hanoi that night though, and we had bun cha. I'd never heard of this. If you haven't either, make sure you try it. So freaking good. It's like a noodle pork dish kind of thing. There's like this sauce that you dip the noodles and the pork in. One of the best meals I had on this trip. That was really our only activity being back in Hanoi. We were back at that same hotel that we started at. Again, really nice hotel, so I was happy to be back there. Next morning, we woke up to go to our cruise to Ha Long Bay. Like I mentioned, you're going to want to make sure that you have some kind of like duffel bag with all of your stuff for the night. If you have any kind of like Tiva sandals, I highly recommend you bring those. I only had flip-flops, so those were the only shoes I brought. There is going to be one opportunity for a hike. I'll get to that a little bit later, but it would be nice to have more sturdy shoes if you have that option. The boat was pretty nice. It was nothing bad. I'm not a cruise girly at all, so I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it. I think the cruise was like the perfect way to see Ha Long Bay though, because Ha Long Bay is amazing. I've been to the Phi Phi Islands in Thailand, which is also gorgeous, but I just thought Ha Long Bay like blew Thailand out of the water. I think we got a different boat than some of the other tours I've had because I saw like a tour that my friend had done, and it looked like they had this like luxury nice room, and ours was just kind of like a little dorm room thing, and it was fine. It was clean, it was safe. I will say this is the one time on this whole trip that I had trouble with Wi-Fi. Usually everywhere we went, like even if you'd be in a random restaurant, like the Wi-Fi would be so strong, which I'm not used to. I feel like even at nice hotels here in the US, like you usually can't rely on the Wi-Fi. Usually the Wi-Fi was great. On the boat, it did not really work. Not really a big deal because it was only for one night, but just a heads up. The way it worked was we got on the boat, had our like included meals. So that included our lunch this day, the dinner, and then the breakfast the next morning. We had a few hours after lunch to just like chill, take pictures. There's a bar on board with affordable drinks, so everybody was taking advantage of that, naturally, just like sitting up on the deck, watching the view go by. It's like being in an aquarium or something and just like watching the view go live in front of you. Again, so stunning. Then the boat makes a stop where you get onto these little boats, you put on your life jacket, and they drop you off at this island called T-Top Island. Again, very beautiful. You have the option to either do a hike or just stay down at the beach part. I decided to do the hike because again, I love hiking. I was a little worried because I only had my flip-flops, and it was totally fine because it's just like stairs that you're going up and down. We were also kind of worried like if we did the hike that we wouldn't have enough time to also enjoy the beach, but there was plenty of time to do both because the hike took like maybe 15-20 minutes. Nothing too crazy, even though it is very steep going up and down. I will also say don't get too much FOMO if you can't do the hike, because while I really enjoyed it, like the view at the top is basically the same view that you're getting from the ground, so don't stress yourself out if you don't want to do it and just want to stay down at the beach. Yeah, then we went down to the bottom, had our time on the beach. I'm not a big beach girly normally either, but I had so much fun down there and it was a good amount of time. It wasn't too long. I definitely didn't get bored. You load back up onto the little boat, get back on the big boat, have another like hour or so on the boat before they make the second stop, which was to go kayaking. This part you had to pay extra for. I wish I could find how much it cost. I want to say 125,000 Vietnamese dong. That could be wrong. Whatever it is, the conversion didn't come out to being that much money. It was very much worth it. Kayaking, again, something that I didn't think I'd be into, but it was so much fun. I didn't even bring my phone with me. My roommate did, so she was the one like taking pictures and stuff. We were out there for, I want to say another like hour or so. It was a really beautiful sunset. A bunch of people jumped into the water. I had just in high maintenance and didn't want to get my hair wet, so I just like watched everybody get back on the little boat again. Takes you back to the big boat where you're staying for the rest of the night. We all got showered, changed for dinner. They also did like a spring roll demonstration for us, which was interesting to watch. Everybody was drinking on the boat again with the little onboard bar. It was just a really great fun night. Next morning we got up and we were making one last stop to go to this cave. The cave was very crowded, but I'm not mad at the fact that it was crowded because you're having to like go up all these stairs and stuff, so the fact that it was crowded kind of like slowed it down, especially for people on our group who like had mobility issues or like aren't big into hiking. It was nice that you could just kind of like take your leisurely pace to go up the stairs. The cave was pretty cool. I bought a really pretty pearl bracelet there. I think I actually have it in front of me. Hold on. This is not real pearl, obviously. I paid like $3 for this, but I think it's really cute. Totally forgot to mention, I'm going out of order here, but on the first day before we actually boarded the Halong Bay boat, we stopped at this actual pearl farm. It was really interesting to learn about, but they were very pricey there for their jewelry, so I didn't buy anything. Anyway, after the cave, we got back on the boat. Boat dropped us off at the land. We disembarked. Our flight to go to Hoi An this night wasn't until very late, like 9 p.m. or something. So we had the whole leisurely day at Dee's discretion. Again, Dee was our tour guide. And I think he was having so much fun just like freestyling on what the itinerary was. First place we went was this little like kind of rest stop place. They are known for their silk weaving, so they do the really pretty like artwork with the silk. And this place was cool specifically because they hire people with disabilities to work there. This is me exposing myself as an ignorant American, but I had no idea about Agent Orange. If you haven't heard of it either, please look it up. It's very horrifying what we did to these poor people back during the war, but Agent Orange is something that is still affecting these generations of people in Vietnam, including most of these people that are employed at this rest stop. But we got to watch them do a demonstration. A bunch of people bought the artwork from them. They also had a whole section of jewelry. So although I didn't buy my pearl necklace from Halong Bay, I got it from the rest stop. This was about $90. It was exactly what I wanted. So personally, I would wait and not get your jewelry on the Halong Bay day. Wait until you go to this place after, as long as you guys are going to the same place. There was also a little restaurant in there so we could get our lunch. After that, this was hilarious. We stopped in this random town. I don't even know the name of it. Our tour director said it was the middle of nowhere. He said they're not used to getting tourists there. Sure enough, everybody's like coming out on their porch, like looking at the bus going by. Again, The Vietnamese people are so sweet. Everybody's just like smiling and waving at us like, oh, what's going on? We stop at this pottery place. They had some very beautiful work there. We're just kind of watching them for a second. Dee also took us into this rice field like behind the place. We think we were trespassing low-key, but like nobody seems to care. And he's giving us more info about the rice fields and everything. Then he's like, do you guys want to go to a school? And we're like, sure. So we just pull up to this school like right up the road. Dee's like, hold on, give me a minute. Hops off the bus while we're still on. We just see this like swarm of children come after him. And I guess whatever he told him is like, oh, the Americans are here. They start screaming and cheering, jumping up and down, smiling, wanting to high five all of us. And I hate kids normally, but like these kids were so freaking cute. It was the most like wholesome thing. So we're just like walking through this school. We assumed that Dee like knew these people, that this was like a regular thing, like, oh, he probably called ahead to the principal or whatever. He swears that he had never even been to that place before, but he just knows that that's the reaction that the schools get when they see Americans coming in. He had us like go into the classrooms too, and the teachers were like excited to see us, even though we were like, oh, they probably hate us now because we like disrupted their lesson plan for the day. This was just a very true EF moment, and like one of those things that you don't get that anywhere else. After that, we got back on the bus, which took us all the way back to the Hanoi airport, where we boarded our flight to Da Nang. Very late flight. I was so tired at this point. We arrived into Da Nang, and then it was about 30 minutes or so to get to Hoi An via bus. I would say this hotel wasn't like as fancy as the other ones, but it was still very nice. The next day, we had our guided tour around Hoi An. Hoi An is like a smaller city. Feels a little bit more touristy, but nothing's like overrun with tourists. It didn't feel cheesy or anything, but it's again very walkable, easy to get around. Our final stop of the walking tour was at a place called Yali, which is one of the tailors. So if you've ever heard of the custom tailors in Vietnam, Hoi An is the place for that. Yali specifically, I believe it might have been the first one. If not the first one, it's one of the most famous ones. But you go in, I recommend that you have like some Pinterest ideas saved of what you want, and they can just like customize a whole look from scratch for you. So I got them to make this cute little polka dot set, like a top and skirt. I also randomly needed to get my flight attendant uniform altered because I just bought a new one. So I brought it with me on this trip, just wondering if they could do it. And I asked them, and sure enough, they said yes. So I dropped that off for them too. I will say the tailors are a little bit pricey just compared to everything else. It's very much worth it for what you get, but I spent about $100 for my little set. For Vietnam, that's pricey. For home, that's very affordable. To get my uniform tailored though, it was only $10, which is amazing. They had our stuff ready, like completely done by the next morning, but that night we went back for like our first fittings for them to do some more alterations and just like tidy it up a little bit. After we were done with that initial stop at Yali though, it was just free time. I went to a coffee shop called Finn that Dee had recommended. I recommend it too. The coconut coffee here was amazing. It was very cute. They do also have a coffee making class if you're interested in that, so a lot of the group did that the next day. I did not, but they said it was fun. For my free time, I really just like kept walking around Hoi An, enjoying the beautiful shops and everything. It's like, again, the very beautiful yellow buildings everywhere, the flowers everywhere. I did have to keep making stops at the hotel just to like chill in the AC for a minute though, because the heat was so crazy. This night we had an included excursion to do a bike ride. We gotta debrief the bike ride. The way they describe it is like a peaceful, quaint bike ride through the hills. In my opinion, because I'm not a strong bike rider, it was not peaceful. This is a personal issue, but my dad got in a really bad motorcycle wreck, so I'm very weird with motorcycles anyway. Like I told you guys, I didn't even want to get on that motorbike with the lady on the first day, and I did. And I'm not like that traumatized or anything, but just like, I don't mess around with like getting on motorcycles, being around motorcycles. This was like a bicycle though, like a regular two-wheel bicycle, you know, again, thinking it's gonna be chill. I didn't realize that we were gonna be sharing the road with motorbikes at a couple points. It wasn't anything crazy. It's not like those videos you see of people crossing the street and stuff, but there was one point where a motorcycle like cut in front of me, and it freaked me out because I had to kind of slam on the brakes, and then I had a car cut in front of me too, and I was just like shaking by the time this bike ride was done. Again, I didn't think it was gonna give me that much anxiety, but it just like really shook me up. The road we were on too was really uneven, so you're having to kind of like swerve around little potholes and stuff. A lot of the group really enjoyed it, and if you like biking, you'll enjoy it. But again, I don't ride bikes often, even though I know how to. It was not a fun time for me. I will say though, if you don't want to do the bike ride, which some of the group opted out, then you can just take the bus to our ending point. I wish I would have done that, would have if I would have known. Anyway, our stopping point was where you get on the coconut boats, if you've seen that. So those little round boats where you're just like going through the water at first, but then you can also have them spin you if you want. Their song of choice is Gangnam Style. Nobody knows why, but it just plays on loop over and over and over. I did fully plan to do this part, but I honestly wasn't feeling well after the bike thing. Again, I did not expect it to give me anxiety like that, but I was still just like kind of shaky. I was really hungry at that point, still kind of overheated, so I was like, let me just sit back and I'll just watch the spinny part. So you don't have to do the spinning. By the time we were getting off of those boats, I was so motion sick, and for some reason my hands were tingling. I'd never had that before. Kind of freaked me out, and I don't normally get motion sick, but I think it was just a combo of everything. Immediately after we got off of the boat though, they had an included dinner for us. It was this really good noodle thing. Another example of the locals just being so kind is I was over there at the table and I just like had my head down because I did not feel good. Again, I was kind of freaked out. I knew I like just needed to eat something, I'd be okay. This waitress comes over and she's like rubbing my back, checking on me. I'm like crying at this point. I wasn't even like sad. I looked like such a loser because I'm trying to explain to people, I was like, yeah, my dad got in a bad motorcycle wreck. And I'm like, I'm not even crying about that. It's just like, I don't know, my body was freaking out. But again, she was so nice and like made sure I got my food first, and that helped me feel a lot better. Then we went over as a group back to Yali. That's when we had our first like fitting. Most of the group did this like lantern release thing from the boats in Hoi An, which I really wish I would have gone to because it looked so cool, but I still just was not feeling too great, and I was like, I need to go to sleep. I need to lay down. I don't want to get lightheaded again. So what I did on the way back to the hotel is I stopped at Vietnamese McDonald's because I am one of those people that I always want to try McDonald's in other countries, even though I don't even eat McDonald's when I'm at home. Let me tell you, Vietnamese McDonald's was great. I think it healed me. I felt much better after that. If you have the chance, get the Oreo Matcha McFlurry. It was so good. We went back and got it later, but that was the end of my night. The next day we had a whole free day. This wasn't supposed to be a free day, but our tour director kind of like rearranged the itinerary just so we could have some more free time, and I liked that he did that. What sucked is we did have to check out from this hotel at normal time, but our flight wasn't until late again that night. However, we weren't able to secure day rooms this time. We were able to just keep our stuff in the lobby, but remember, so much of Vietnam doesn't have AC, so then we didn't have like that designated place to go back to with AC. Me and one of the girls went to a head spa here, which was so nice. I recommend it so much. It was called a White Rose Spa. Just messaged them on Instagram. They responded like immediately with our appointments. It was so good that I booked a massage for later to come back and just enjoy their AC again and kill time. Really short walk from the hotel too. Hoi An is also where they're known for their banh mi specifically. I had a really great banh mi on the first day. The second day, while we were having our free time, we went to Banh Mi Queen, which might have been even better. It was so good. Both of these places are, again, really short walks to the hotel. Did some more shopping, did some more walking around. Finally, it was time to meet back up with the group. I want to say at like 5 p.m. or so. Loaded back onto the bus, went to the Da Nang airport to catch our last flight over to Ho Chi Minh City. On the itinerary, it looks like you have so much time in Ho Chi Minh City because it says 3 nights and that's the most that we had anywhere. But really, I felt like it wasn't enough time because this first night, it was just that travel day. So we just like got in, went straight to sleep. The next day, we had this whole like day excursion over to the Mekong Delta. This was another like kind of random stop in my opinion. Like I think maybe if we had an extra day, this would have been better, but I think there's other things I would have rather done. It was cool, it was interesting. You take the bus down there, it's like a 2-hour drive or so, and you get on this boat and you go down the river. It's very pretty. You make a stop at this like kind of, I'm not even sure what the proper term would be, but like a coconut farm where they do like the coconut candy. They had all kinds of souvenirs, so I bought a lot more stuff. This is also where they had snake wine. I didn't know this was a thing. It's like a real snake carcass that like somehow they get the oil out of and then they make wine from it. I didn't try it. I wasn't adventurous enough. A lot of the group did. They also had a real live snake that people were passing around like Britney Spears style. Then we got back on the boat and they made a stop where we got onto these little boats, and I was not prepared for that. It was more like a canoe thing where you're going through. It feels like a swamp. Like I was teasing it, reminded me of when I lived in Louisiana. Again, very pretty. It would have been very enjoyable, except that it was so hot, so humid. I had run out of water, my own fault, but I didn't realize how long the boat part was going to be. I should have bought an extra bottle of water and I didn't. So I was not feeling good again. I really just got overheated. Our next stop was lunch. It was another kind of like home hosted thing. So again, outside, no AC. There were fans is, but where I was sitting, the fan wasn't really hitting me. And I wasn't a fan of the food here either. I make it sound like the food on this trip was bad. It really wasn't. Like, there was so much amazing food, but there were a couple meals that like I wasn't a fan of, and this was one of them. I don't like seafood, and this is where they did this thing where it's like the fish that still looks like a fish. So I didn't eat that. They had like a vegetable broth kind of thing, but that didn't fill me up. I was just feeling very unwell by the end of that. My body was probably still kind of off from feeling unwell the other night. Like, I think the heat exhaustion was just like piling up at this point. But we left there, got back on the bus, went all the way back into Ho Chi Minh City. Ho Chi Minh City feels a lot more modern than the other places that we stopped at. It's a lot more like big city. You will most likely have to take the taxis, Grab to get wherever you want to go. It's not as walkable, but I wouldn't say it's like overwhelming. Our hotel here was very much giving like New York City because it was so like cramped in and squished, but it was another very nice hotel. For this night, this wasn't required, but we had like another kind of optional excursion that Dee had organized where you could do a rickshaw tour. I didn't know what that was, but basically it's like a tuk-tuk except for the guys like pedaling you on a bicycle and you're just kind of sitting there. This was a really cool way to see the city, especially in a small amount of time like we had. So we went to a couple different spots. We went to the site of the monk that burned himself as a form of protest back in the 70s. This was another thing I hadn't heard of before this trip, but if you're familiar with that, that was really interesting to learn about. We made another stop where it was one of the hidden bunkers from the war and you could like climb down in there, so that was cool to see. We made a stop at this flower street where they're selling flowers but also selling like some snacks and stuff. And then our last stop was this crazy fever dream of a restaurant where we got all kinds of dishes to try, just like family style. It was a huge, like, it looked like a Vegas casino in there. A lot of the group went to karaoke afterwards. I was planning on doing this. I sound so lame, but I was planning on doing the karaoke and I backed out because again, I felt so heat exhausted that I thought I needed my sleep, and I went back to the hotel because I was like, it's better for me to just like reset, get my sleep, be ready to go for the next day rather than like pushing my body too hard and not feeling good again when I woke up. And that next day was our last day, so this was more of our like actual tour around Ho Chi Minh City, since the day before was when we were on the Mekong Delta and everything. We went to Independence Palace, which was interesting, another like war site. The actual war museum is not included in the itinerary, but obviously everybody wanted to do that. I really recommend you go. There's a lot of stuff you need to see in there. It is very graphic. It's hard. I was cheering up, but again, it's a must stop, honestly. I'm telling you that to say that since all of the group was wanting to go anyway, Dee was like, I can just have the bus driver drop us off here. And we said, yes, please. I want to say I spent like an hour in here. After that, I went back to the hotel again, and we had some more free time before our farewell dinner this night. Our farewell dinner was in the hotel, which normally I feel like it's kind of a bummer when they do that, but this time it was nice just because we were like shorter on time. This was when a few of us went back to McDonald's after dinner to get more of the Oreo matcha McFlurries because they were that good. We said our goodbyes and everything. Most of us had a 4 a.m. pickup the next day for our flights home. Forgot to mention, but my flight plan going and coming home, to get there, it was Hartford to Chicago, Chicago to Tokyo, Tokyo to Hanoi. Coming home was the exact same in reverse, except for leaving from Ho Chi Minh City. It was Ho Chi Minh City to Tokyo, Tokyo to Chicago, Chicago to Hartford. What I will warn you about, the Ho Chi Minh City airport was so crazy busy. It took over an hour for my check-in to drop off my checked bag, which I would have had to go through that line anyway to get my boarding pass because they have to like check your passport. It was maybe like another 20 minutes or so for the actual passport control though, like immigration. And then we still had to go through security, and it was totally fine, but just like, please give yourself plenty of time flying out of there. The other airports weren't busy at all. Ho Chi Minh City airport was very busy. So that's my long drawn out overview of the itinerary, but really quick, I'll just go through some kind of like other rapid fire things you need to know that I didn't mention yet. Packing, like I said, bring light clothes, bring your little outfits. It is going to be more than likely so hot there. I also really recommend you pack mosquito spray. I did not, and I was getting eaten alive by the mosquitoes. I kept having to borrow some. So if you can get just like a little bottle from 7-Eleven or wherever, do that. Bring your sunscreen. I went through almost an entire can of sunscreen, ginger problems. When to visit, like I said, I came in April. I would just really recommend you don't come during the rainy season. I honestly think that would have ruined the trip for me, just because so much of the trip has to do with like the gorgeous nature outside and these very walkable cities, and if it's pouring down rain, you're not gonna be able to enjoy that. So spend the extra money, come during the dry season. It's gonna be hot year round, but I think it was a little bit milder in April than if you would go in like actual summer. So I think April was a great time to go. Like I said, make sure you have your cash with you. Just stop at an ATM when you get there. Vietnam is a very, very safe country. The way our tour director was explaining it was he was saying like even if there was like a petty crime, they're pretty much going to just stay away from tourists because they really do just like see tourists in such a high regard. As I kept saying, like the people here are so sweet, so accommodating, go so out of their way. They will spoil you so much. Like don't let your guard down too much, but also like don't worry, you're gonna be totally fine. The reasons why this was my favorite EF trip I've done were because Vietnam, again, it was such an amazing country to go to. It was so beautiful. There were so many just like amazing wow factor moments. But at the same time, it wasn't necessarily like a challenging country just because of how much the locals go out of their way to understand you. Like the language barrier wasn't too bad. It's not a trip where I really felt like I was uncomfortable too many times, but at the same time, I was like learning so much and absorbing so many things. So it was like the best of both worlds in that regard. Vietnam is so like girly pop coded, which I think is so cute. Like the spas everywhere, the shopping with the beautiful affordable clothes, the custom made tailors, pretty flowers everywhere. Even again, the fact that they had iced coffee everywhere, I loved that. There was so much amazing food everywhere. Our tour guide was so great. We also just had a really amazing group in general. I don't know if this was always the case, but I would imagine this is true. I think that the groups that go to Vietnam with EF are more like experienced travelers. Nothing against the other groups with EF at all, but the people on my tour specifically, it was nobody's first EF trip and most people had gone on like 5 tours or so with EF. And that was just kind of cool to like bond with people over that and like, oh, this reminds me of this thing that we did in Peru and this reminds me of this thing we did in Egypt. It was a very mature group, kind of an older group, but everybody just bonded so well and had so much fun together. Nobody even like split up into cliques or anything. Like everybody just got along. We had our group chat every day that was so fun and funny. There was like a guy who would send recaps of every day, like all of our inside jokes for the day. Hopefully you get just as lucky as I did with a good group. And I think that's really all I have to say. I can't recommend this tour enough. Again, it was my favorite overall. I'd never been able to pick a favorite country before, but Vietnam is now my favorite country. I wish this trip had even more time. It was already 12 days, 13 with my extra day that I was there, so that's my longest trip that I've done. But I think I could have spent an extra day in Sapa, an extra day in Hanoi, extra day in Ho Chi Minh City, maybe even an extra day in Hoi An, plus gone over to Da Nang and Ninh Binh. You could spend a whole month in Vietnam and not get bored. So that being said, I would love to go back one day. Of course, any questions that you have about Vietnam or EF in general or travel in general, let me know. Again, don't forget I have my discount link with the EF so you can get $100 off your first trip, no matter which trip that is. I'll make sure to leave that down below for you. But thank you for watching and make sure you go check out my vlog too if you haven't.